Cape Town, South Africa is situated on the banks of Table Bay, and it's the legislative capital and the second largest city in all of South Africa. Unfortunately though, the city has gained a reputation as one of the world's most dangerous places, currently ranking as the 10th most dangerous city with a homicide rate of approximately 64 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. With around 130 different gangs operating in the city, it is estimated that over 100,000 people are involved with these criminal organizations. Also, sadly, drug-related crimes and gang violence are rampant in Cape Town, further contributing to the city's high crime rate. From here, we take a look over into Brazil at FIERA de Santana. FEIRA de Santana is the second most populous city in the Brazilian state of Bahia, and it is estimated to have a population of 619,609 residents. But unfortunately, the city also holds the dubious distinction of being the world's 9th most dangerous city, with a homicide rate of approximately 67.46 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. It is also the highest homicide rate in all of Brazil, and the city has experienced numerous violent activities including assaults, scams, pickpocketing, which has left both residents and visitors equally terrified here. Uruapan, Mexico comes next. It's located at the western edge of the Purupicha Highlands, and it is the second largest and second most populous city in Michoacan in Mexico. And sadly, the city is also known as the most dangerous place in Michoacan, and it is the world's 8th most dangerous city, with a homicide rate of approximately 72.59 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. Cartel Jalisco Nuevo Generacion and other criminal organizations frequently engage in violent clashes to control the critical drug trafficking routes in the area, leading to an environment of terror for the city's residents and its visitors. Number 7 leads us to the United States, to the city of St. Louis. Located near the confluence of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers, St. Louis is the second largest city in all of Missouri, and it has a homicide rate of approximately 87.83 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. St. Louis is currently ranked as the 7th most dangerous city in the world, and it also is one of the most hazardous cities in the United States, with the highest murder rate and drug usage in the country. According to the city's new police chief, approximately half of the assaults and 67% of all murders occur in a small triangular area in the northern part of the city. We're back to Mexico again at number 6, Ensenada. This city is the 3rd largest city in the Mexican state of Baja California, and it currently is ranked as the world's 6th most dangerous city, with a homicide rate of about 90.58 homicides per 100,000. The city is plagued by an increase of violence due to the ongoing turf wars between the rival cartels such as Sinaloa Cartel and Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, and the remnants of the Arellano Felix organization, and this is all in addition to human trafficking and drug trades. IRAPUATO, Mexico comes up next. This is located in the heart of the Mexican state of Guanajuato, and it's at the base of the Arandas Hill, and it sits at the base of the Arandas Hill, and it's the 2nd most populous city. But this mid-sized Mexican city has earned the title of the world's 5th most dangerous city. And its homicide rate, it sits at 94.99 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. Now, the root of the increased violence in the city can be attributed to the frequent turf wars between the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel and the Jalisco New Generation cartel. That's the name in English. Now, despite this violence, the local police authorities have been unable to curb it, leaving the matter to the federal government. But unfortunately, to this date, the federal government has also been unsuccessful in reducing the violence in the city. Number 4 is another Mexican city, Ciudad Obregon. Ciudad Obregon is located in the southern part of the Mexican state of Sonora, and it is the second largest city in the area. The city is one of the most dangerous cities in the entire world, with a high homicide rate of approximately 101.13 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. And according to reports, Ciudad Obregon plays a critical role in the international drug and human trafficking trades. The city coming in at the number 3 spot is Ciudad Juarez. Ciudad Juarez is the most populous city in the Mexican state of Chihuahua, and it's home to an estimated 1,512,450 inhabitants. But the city, it has become the third most dangerous city in the world, and its homicide rate, it sits at a surprising 103.61 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. Women are especially vulnerable in Juarez, and the violence against them is rising sharply in recent years. The increase in crime has led to the collapse of the city's once thriving tourism industry, and travelers should definitely exercise extreme caution, as carjacking, burglary, theft, robbery, all that stuff is just too common there. The city does have a past reputation as a hub of nightclubs and loud entertainment, but it's definitely has been overshadowed because of the dangerous state of affairs right now. The city coming in at the number 2 spot, another Mexican city, Tijuana, Mexico. Tijuana is the second largest city in the Mexican state of Baja California, and it's situated at the westernmost point of Mexico and sharing a 24-kilometer long border with San Diego, California. Despite being the world's most visited border city, Tijuana is considered the world's second most dangerous city, with a homicide rate of 105.15 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. The city is known for its widespread poverty and the prevalence of heinous crimes like kidnapping and taking people's life and other forms of assault. The violence in Tijuana is mainly attributed to human trafficking and drug trades carried out by various gangs. The rivalry between the Tijuana and Sinaloa cartels often leads to just abrupt violence, and the Tijuana cartel is the most extensive and violent criminal group in all of Mexico, while Sinaloa cartel is an international drug trafficking cartel operating in many Mexican states and other parts of the world. This episode brings us to Celaya, Mexico. This is the most dangerous city in the entire world. It's located in the south central part of the Mexican state of Guanajuato, and it is the third most populous city with an estimated population of 639,052 inhabitants. But yep, despite its size, it's considered to be the world's most dangerous city, and it has a homicide rate of 109.38 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. Now, the reason for the increased violence is believed to be the ongoing turf war between the Jalisco New Generation cartel and its rival, the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel. The Jalisco New Generation cartel seeks to control drug trafficking and large-scale gasoline thefts in the region, and has resorted to extreme violence to eliminate its competition. Sudan has become one of the most dangerous countries in the world due to various factors. The country has been severely impacted by years of conflict and violence, with the situation deteriorating further as the days go by. Since the year 1983, Sudan has been embroiled in a civil war that has resulted in the loss of life of nearly 2 million individuals. Additionally, the alleged mass annihilation by the Sudanese government in the Darfur area has displaced millions of other people. Sudan faces the threat of extremist groups who have been responsible for multiple unfortunate acts within the country. Number 9 takes us to the Central African Republic. The ongoing violence and humanitarian crisis have made the Central African Republic one of the most unsafe nations in the entire world. The country has been plagued by instability as well as violence for numerous years, and there really is no sign that this is going to improve anytime soon. More than half of the population relies on humanitarian aid, and millions of people have been forced to flee their homes due to all the fighting that's going on. Also, the violence has resulted in thousands of people losing their lives and countless injuries, and many civilians have been subjected to all manner of unspeakable acts. Due to the lack of security, people are unable to carry out their daily activities without fear for their safety, and many have sought asylum in other countries because of all of this. And at the number 8 spot, we have Somalia. The State Department of the United States warns against traveling to Somalia due to armed conflict, the persistent and high threat of attacks, and the prevalence of violence. Attacks are frequent in Somalia, and various targets including Aden Adi International Airport, government officials and buildings, hotels and restaurants, foreigners, foreign interests, and the UN personnel are all at risk. Recent incidents had resulted in numerous fatalities and injuries, and the probability of kidnapping is very high in Somalia. It is recommended to maintain unpredictability in your movements there, and things like grenade attacks have taken place in residential areas and markets in south central Somalia, so it's advisable to avoid violent areas as well as large public gatherings in Somalia. Country coming in at the number 7 spot is Iraq. Iraq is ranked 157th on the Global Peace Index, and it's primarily due to the continuous unrest and violence in the region. The aftermath of the Iraq War and several ongoing conflicts have led to the displacement of millions of individuals, causing significant human suffering and thousands of individuals losing their life. The instability of the country is further compounded by the government's widespread corruption, which is considered to be among the worst in the world. Congo comes up next at number 6. The Democratic Republic of Congo has been grappling with violence and unrest for several years. The country is home to multiple armed factions, and the government is notably unstable. Also, there's poverty and inequality. Those are prevalent, providing ample opportunities for criminal organizations and gangs to enlist new members. At the number 5 spot, we have South Sudan. As of 2022, South Sudan is considered the most dangerous nation in Africa. Following its secession from Sudan in 2011, the country has been grappling with political instability as well as civil war, and the conflict has resulted in the displacement of over 2 million people, with more than 400,000 fatalities being reported. The presence of several armed factions throughout the country makes life in South Sudan extremely difficult for many individuals. The country's infrastructure is in dire condition, with limited access to essential services such as healthcare and education. Russia is up next at number 4. Russia is ranked number 4 primarily due to its high homicide rate and escalating political turmoil, especially with everything going on with the war on Ukraine. In comparison to other nations, Russia's homicide rate stands at 9.5 per 100,000 inhabitants, and this can be attributed to the country's high poverty and inequality levels, as well as the absence of the rule of law and widespread corruption in the country. The increasing frequency of rallies and opposition activities in Russia has led to growing political unrest, and this is predicted to result in future civil upheaval and heightened violence. Coming down to the number 3 spot, let's take a look at the country of Syria. Since the year 2011, Syria has been engulfed in a civil war that has caused over 250,000 losses of life and resulted in more than 7.6 million internally displaced people. The nation's infrastructure is in ruins, and the health and education systems have been decimated. Additionally, criminal groups have committed unspeakable acts against civilians, further adding to the ongoing conflict there. And due to its proximity to Europe, Syria's refugee crisis has reached an unprecedented level. This is why Syria is currently ranked the third most dangerous country on the globe. This is why Syria is currently ranked the third most dangerous country on the planet. From there, let's go over into Yemen at number 2. The situation in Yemen shows no sign of improvement. A civil war that erupted back in 2015 has led to tens of thousands of fatalities and has displaced millions of people from their homes. As a result of the prolonged conflict, famine is widespread in the country and basic amenities like healthcare and education are in very short supply. The presence of organizations such as Al-Qaeda as well as other groups has also made the country more dangerous for citizens and for anyone that travels within their borders. Ending this episode off at number 1, we have Afghanistan. Decades of war have severely hindered Afghanistan's human development, resulting in one of the world's lowest human development indices. The continuing conflict in the country has caused high levels of violence and insecurity, disproportionately affecting civilians there. On top of that, we got to talk about the corruption within the Afghan government, which has impeded the provision of essential services and the improvement of the country's infrastructure on a whole. The TRIFT bridge in Switzerland is an architectural wonder that's built to be incredibly secure. So there's no need to worry about your safety, right? This suspension bridge is specifically designed for pedestrians to cross over the Swiss Alps, spanning 560 feet above Lake Triftsee near the Trift Glacier. For those who are afraid of heights, this attraction may already be a source of terror, and reaching the bridge can be just as challenging. It requires a journey in a cable car, followed by a gondola ride and a strenuous hike uphill for an hour-and-a-half to reach the base of the bridge. From there, we move on to number 9, looking at the ALNWICK garden. So guys, telling you, don't be fooled by the seemingly innocent name of this garden. It's definitely not your typical garden, so I'll explain. The Duchess of Northumberland, Jane Percy, had a grand plan when she decided to create this garden to bring together some of the rarest and most dangerous plants in the world. While visitors are kept at a safe distance from the toxic plants, anyone daring enough to sneak into the poison garden would be making a grave mistake. Surprisingly, also, the garden's website promotes it as a peaceful and tranquil space where families and children can enjoy themselves. Huh? But yeah, okay, either way, the Poison Garden is the most popular attraction among the many gardens in ALNWICK, and visitors are separated from nearly 100 toxic plants by ominous looking black iron gates that only tour guides are authorized to open. And as expected, visitors are strictly forbidden from touching or ingesting any of the deadly plants. But despite this though, some visitors have reportedly fainted from inhaling toxic fumes while taking a stroll through the garden. The next tourist attraction is Volcanoes National Park. At Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park, the boldest and most daring tourists embark on an adventure like no other, riding bicycles down the slopes of an active volcano. However, this exhilarating attraction has not been without its dangers though. There have been multiple accidental losses of life over the years, prompting temporary closures. And it's important to remember that these volcanoes, they're active. So an eruption can occur anytime, unexpectedly, resulting in, of course, very serious injuries or even fatalities. Kilauea and Mauna Loa are perhaps the most well-known active volcanoes on Hawaii's Big Island, and the Chain of Craters Road offers a very unique opportunity to drive over actual lava flows in the park. It's almost as if you stepped onto a movie set rather than a tourist attraction though. I don't know if I have the stomach to travel on an active volcano. Moving on to number 7, we have Christmas Island. If you're looking for an amazing Australian vacation spot that offers excitement and adventure, well, here we have Christmas Island, home to a plethora of wildlife species, including the notorious coconut crab. While that may sound cute and tropical and all, definitely don't be fooled. These crabs, they can grow up to a size of 3 feet long and sneak up on you. They climb trees, they just pop out of nowhere. It's definitely more reminiscent of a horror movie scene than a Christmas paradise, but either way, that's another story. There are plenty of other safe and enjoyable activities for tourists to experience on Christmas Island. One of the main attractions is witnessing the annual migration of the crabs as they travel to the coast. Over 40 million crabs used to call the island home, so it's definitely a sight to see. Number 6 leads us to the Valley of Death. Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula boasts its own version of the Valley of Death. And this is at the Valley of Geysers, and it's arguably even more dangerous than the American counterpart. While Death Valley is infamous for its extreme temperatures, the danger at the Valley of Geysers lies in the toxic gas that's released by the nearby volcano. This deadly gas has actually wiped out all of the plants and animal life in the valley, and humans experience adverse symptoms upon entering the area. The Valley of Death is a mile-long area located at the foot of the stratovolcano Kikpinich, and the volcanic gases permeate the valley, creating a deadly trap that kills anything that enters. In the late 1900s, researchers determined that the toxic gas is a deadly mixture of hydrogen sulfide, carbon and sulfur dioxide, and carbon disulfide. Number 5 leads us to the El Caminito del Rey. This is an unnerving walkway that's constructed on the edge of a mountain, which has claimed numerous lives, leading to its closure to the public. However, that didn't stop some adventurous people from sneaking onto the path. Following extensive renovations to restore the crumbling concrete and rusty metal supports, the path reopened back in the year 2015. It's been dubbed the King's Little Path, and it's hard to actually fathom using this pathway for any type of transportation at all. It seems safer to just go through a forest than this rickety path, hovering 330 feet above the river below. And due to 5 lives being lost between the years 1999 and 2000, the route gained the dubious distinction of being the world's most dangerous walkway. The dangerous tourist attraction coming in at number 4 is the MIDDLEMOOR Water Park. It's hard to imagine why anyone thought that a water park trebuchet was a good idea, and yet it actually exists. The ride involved being launched from a giant catapult at breakneck speeds for the low price of $60. And the so-called safety net wasn't actually foolproof at all, and riders often suffered injuries ranging from mild concussions to broken bones. Shockingly, the ride remained operational until the year 2022 when tragedy struck. What happened was a rider missed the net and lost their life. And people are wondering what possessed park management to continue operating such a dangerous ride for so long in the first place. Coming in at the number 3 spot, we have the Cliffs of Moher. The Cliffs of Moher are undoubtedly one of Ireland's most breathtaking natural wonders, and the panoramic views of the Irish countryside and the Atlantic Ocean are to die for. However, the cliff's rugged and treacherous terrain has claimed many lives, making it a popular location for attempts to end one's own life, unfortunately. The cliffs reach an average height of 390 feet, with some parts extending to over 700 feet, making a fall from the top, a certain end to life. Making a fall from the top a certain end of life. Despite the cliff's unfortunate reputation, they remain one of Ireland's most popular tourist attractions, drawing over 1.5 million visitors annually. Coming up next in at the number 2 spot, we have the Festival of San Fermin. Pamplona, Spain has been a charming and peaceful destination most of the year, but it becomes a hub of adrenaline and chaos during the annual San Fermin festival. The running of the bulls, as they call it, is the main event. And this event draws thousands of tourists who want to witness the spectacle of bulls charging through the city streets. However, the festival is not for the faint of heart. Every year, dozens of participants are injured and actually lose their lives because of the raging bulls. Goring is a common injury, and the bull's horns are capable of inflicting serious damage, obviously. So if you're going and looking for a very relaxing vacation, it's definitely best to avoid Pamplona during the festival that happens from July 6th to July 14th. Ending this episode off at number 1, Action Park. Action Park opened its doors in Vernon Township, New Jersey in 1978, and it was a trailblazer for water parks in America. But unfortunately, it was also a pioneer in dangerous and potential lethal amusement park rides. With wave pools that could generate 40 feet waves and water slides with loops, it's no surprise that Action Park became infamous for its high number of injuries and loss of life during its 18-year run. Thankfully, the park finally closed down for good in 1996, and this spared future generations from potential harm.